Welcome everybody to the game analysis of the game Jan Nepomniachtchi, the Russian against the Chinese Wang Hao in round 5 of the Candidates 2020. And that was quite an important game for the standings because both of them were leading together with vachier-lagrave with 2.5 out of 4. So let's get into it. Jan Nepomniachtchi with the white pieces, Wang Hao with black. And Wang Hao, not surprisingly, plays once again the Petrov as he did in round 3 against Alexander Grischuk. Knight takes d6, knight f3, knight takes e4. Grischuk had played the d3 and d4, which is a transposition to the French exchange. But Jan Nepomniachtchi plays the main line d4, d5, bishop d3, bishop f5. This move has become quite popular in recent years, especially played by a lot of strong Chinese players. Castle, bishop e7, rook e1, castle, and now the main move is c4, but Nepomniachtchi tries a different approach, knight bd2, knight d6, knight f1, and this also has been seen several times. The first real surprise comes at this moment. In this moment, knight e3 has been played, rook e2, even queen b3, and Nepomniachtchi plays a new move, h4, with the idea to either expand on the king side with h5 or play knight g5, which actually happened next move. Well, the position is still very solid for black, and this move will not change the evaluation of the whole line, but often in top level chess it's just about surprising your opponent as early as possible and giving them something to think. Knight c7 makes a lot of sense. The knight comes into the game, knight g5, bishop takes, f6, bishop comes back to f4, and this was certainly all still Nepomniachtchi's preparation, even though here I was a little bit surprised to see knight g3. Instead it seems knight e3 is a bit more precise because of the knight g3. Well, rook a8 was played, which would transpose to the same variation as of the knight e3, but black had this move available, g6, to really restrict the knight and not give him the square on f5. And this seems to be a quite solid approach for black. In all of these lines it still feels like white is pushing a little tiny bit, but black is also very solid, can trade the heavy piece on the e-file, and the king should be safe enough. Let's see the game. Rook a8, now bishop takes d6, queen takes, knight f5, queen back to d7, queen h3. Watch out for one moment, there's the threat of knight h6 and the queen is hanging. So black goes king h8 to stop that. h5 expanding on the king side. And now trade of rooks, another trade. And we get to this endgame. And maybe at first sight you might say, well, they're going to make a draw anytime, right? Pawn structure is symmetrical, material is completely equal. So this must be a draw very soon. Well, not so quickly, because white at least has this space advantage on the king side as well as a strong knight on f5, and sometimes, as we will see in the game, he can get h6 in, and this gives him a little bit of an edge. As you can also see, the engine bar evaluates this position as more pleasant for white. The question is how to continue from here. Nepo played g4, which is quite a committal move because it really weakens the king. The engine is more like an approach like first a4, expand a little bit on the queen side, a5 let's say, and then play slowly, play king f1, and not to rush matters with g4. However, in any case, it will be difficult to convert this advantage that white has in anything countable. So let's see the game. G4, and here, well, there's a threat of queen a3 hitting both the pawn on a7 as well as threatening checkmate on f8, which is why Wang Hao played a6 to deal with this threat. But maybe king g8 was a better way to deal with it, to bring the king back to the center. And here g5 would not really accomplish much. There's the threat once again, knight h6, but black can go queen f7, and this looks completely safe. So, well, what else can white do? The king comes to f7, queen a3 does not really achieve much, just a6 here. This seems to be a better move than a6. to immediately bring the king back. All right, well, small things here and there, not anything life-changing that has happened so far. Black is still doing quite okay. b3, interesting approach here, preparing c4. Now queen e6, knight e3, and knight d6. Once again, king g8 maybe better to finally get this king back into the game and avoid any kind of tricks on the back rank. Knight d6, now h6 was played, g6. So this pawn on h6 is quite troublesome for black because, well, you can imagine there are some mating ideas on the back rank against the black king, and also if black ever loses this pawn on h7, he is in a lot of trouble because this pawn on h6 will be very close to promoting on the back rank. And here Nepo really found a cute idea to play c4. D takes c4, b takes c4. Now I have a question for you. Why can't black take on c4 with the knight? What's the problem there? Stop the video and try to figure this out. It's quite a cute idea. Knight takes c4 loses immediately. Why is that? Well, it has a lot to do with this pawn on h6. The question is how to do it here, because queen g3 runs into queen c1 and picking up the pawn, and then white is certainly not better. But instead queen h2 keeps the pawn protected. After queen c1, white can just go to g2 and it's just game over. So black would need to run out with the king, but then we see exactly what I was talking about earlier. White wins the pawn on h7 and this one is very close to queening. It's game over. This was really a critical moment, I believe. King g8, what Wang Hao played, is possible and logical, but black is coming more and more under pressure. Knight f7 would have been a better move to keep an eye on this h6 pawn. Of course, white can still try here, and I just give you a sample idea to make clear how complex or difficult this position still is. Black certainly has to watch out. Well, black could be waiting here with queen e7. He could also take this pawn, even though, let's be honest, it's a little bit dangerous. Let's see a line here. Queen h2. Black grabs another pawn on d4. The queen comes in. Queen takes b7. And now queen e8, and black is getting enough counterplay. So this should lead to a draw. Not so simple, everything. All right. Let's see the game. King g8 also makes a lot of sense, like I said. With queen h2, strong move. Preparing c5 and preparing the entering of the queen. King f7, correct. c5, knight b5, queen b8, and now we really get to the critical moment in the game. Well, you have to say it as it is. Wang Hao lost the game in one move here, but it's not that easy anymore. So that's why I was pinpointing to moments before where he could ease his defensive task. Wang Hao played queen d7, and that's a losing move. He had two alternatives available. In the commentary I was suggesting knight takes d4, and this still looks very reasonable to me. Black is getting counterplay. One point is that after queen h8, black can protect this vital pawn on h7 with knight f3 and knight g5, and queen e4 is coming, so sufficient counterplay for black here. This is equal. And the alternative would be queen takes b7, queen e7, and queen takes a6. Here black can take the pawn on c5, but white with the pass on the a file is a bit better. He has an advantage here. Even though this is still much better than losing the game pretty much immediately, for sure. Instead of queen takes c5, queen e4 going after a counterplay with queen and knight is even stronger, and this should be equal. Black is getting enough counterplay. Queen and knight are a very good duo. So this was the way to go, or also possible was queen e7, but personally I would like the more active approach. We will see the difference to queen d7 in a moment. Here after queen h8, king e6, queen g8 check, the king could step to d7, No, hold on. The queen could go to f7. Yes. King d7 is not a good idea, in fact, as the computer is telling me, or telling us, knight c4, and white is winning. The knight is coming to b6. But instead queen f7 is just fine. The difference here is that after f4, which was seen in the game in the other position, then black could take on d4, for example, and there is no problem, or king d7. Now, why is queen d7 so bad? Well, let's figure it out together. Queen h8, black has to go king e6. If he loses this pawn, he can also resign. King e6, f4, threatening now to go f5. Queen takes d4 is not a good idea because it runs into checkmate in 1. So knight takes d4. And how can white win here? Another question for you. What is the way to win this position? Try to figure it out. Stop the video here. Queen g8 check. King cannot go to e7 because of queen takes h7. Queen f7. Well, now Nepo repeated moves once, which doesn't hurt. And this is the correct move. Queen d8, threatening checkmate and threatening the knight, and it's game over. If knight b5, there's a4. Black loses a piece. So the only other sensible move is queen d7, but now white has this tactic with f5, and black is also losing a piece. This is all forced. Black has to keep the queen protected, so he cannot move the king. Knight takes f5, now queen takes d7, king takes, knight takes f5. We get into his endgame. Black has 2 pawns for the piece, but they're completely harmless. And after king e6, knight e3, black resigned, because here, if the king goes towards this pawn on h6, then white will go after the d6, the b7 pawn and the c6 pawn. And if black goes after this pawn, white will go after the h7 pawn. The knight is just too strong here, and the black counterplay non-existent, and this is why Wang Hao resigned. And with this win, Nepo takes the lead, is leading the candidates now with 3.5 out of 5, because the other leader, Maxime vachier-lagrave, was not able to win. You could check out that game analysis as well. Very, very exciting game. Alexeyenko against vachier-lagrave. You see it in the description, the link. What happened in this game? Well, the opening preparation was not that impressive to me, but white got this slight unpleasant edge for black, and Nepo found some really nice ideas with this queen h2 move. I quite like this. And then, calculated correctly, Wang Hao made one misstep with queen d7, and that's it. That's all it takes in top level chess. One mistake, it could be game over, and this is what happened in this game. What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you found the right moves, and then make sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, so you get notified for future game analysis. Also click this bell button, I think that helps, and I see you again very soon. Bye bye.